Have you ever wondered why the Protoss race has the Mothership while others don't have their hero units? Today we'll talk about why these special units were scrapped from multiplayer games and why it's a bad idea. Back in Wings of Liberty we actually had 4 concepts that could have made it into multiplayer as so-called boss units for each race, but in the StarCraft series a single unit isn't and shouldn't be as important as a hero in Warcraft 3 for example. But how did MotherShip make it then? But first let's start with other concepts before we jump to a conclusion. And let's start with the Zerg race, because they had some of the coolest unit ideas and they were present in the campaign. For example, Leviathan. It's a very powerful unit that shoots with spores, has spines as a ground attack and also creates Brutalisk for extra help. It has 2,500 HP, 2 armor and even 2 special abilities. The whole idea of Leviathan is just amazing. It's a flying Zerg fortress, striking fear into its enemies and serving as a very tanky shield for the rest of the forces. However, it doesn't have that much DPS and can be countered by a big stack of Marines or some Vikings and battlecruisers. While it seems like a nice addition, Leviathan kinda breaks the main rule of the Zerg army. Zerg race is about swarming, sending hundreds or thousands of units to certain death just to overwhelm your opponent. Zerg players don't really care about casualties and most of their units are squishy. Leviathan, on the other hand, is too tanky and has a huge role on the battlefield. Solution? It could be shrinked in size, have less HP and armor, and his attack would deal lower damage. Maybe instead of spawning Mutas it could spawn a small number of Scourges, and instead of his OP ability it could give a small buff or debuff for your or enemy units. Another option for the Zerg race is Brutalisk. We first meet him in Wings of Liberty campaign in Devil's Playground mission, and the Brutalisk was designed initially as a unit for multiplayer in Wings of Liberty during its development, and according to Phil Gonzalez, the unit had gone through over 10 iterations before being finally removed. Brutalisk is a very slow, high damage unit. It has both ground and air attack and each is very strong. Combined with 750 HP and 2 armor, Brutalisk is a very tanky unit, capable of putting down any enemy target that gets too close. While Brutalisk doesn't seem to be nearly as powerful as Leviathan, it had another issue. The unit is just too slow, and it's just very easy to target fire him or kite. It also lags behind the other units of the Zerg army, and it would be too difficult to adjust the pace of your army with Brutalisk in it. Solution? It could have less damage, a bit more HP and speed to compensate for that. Now let's take a look at the Terran race. Remember Odin from the Wings of Liberty campaign? It actually was the first model of a slightly less powerful unit 4 that's still available in the multiplayer. Odin has a very strong basic attack, as well as a nuclear missile and barrage ability. It's capable of destroying everything on its own, and this is probably the strongest unit that has ever been in StarCraft 2, except some hybrids and heroes like Kerrigan. While Odin fits Terran design perfectly, the problem is obvious. It's just too OP, and unlike other units, it's harder to find a solution. If it gets less powerful, it would be a basic 4 unit and it's just too similar to this little brother. So let's move to the last unit we have for today. Hyperion is a special battlecruiser that can attack on the move and rapidly fires multiple laser batteries for its normal attack. It also has the Yamato Cannon ability which deals 400 damage to a target enemy unit. In Heart of the Swarm it was further upgraded and gained several new abilities, making it even more powerful. Just as Odin, Hyperion is a 1-unit army, and it's fully capable of dealing with anything by itself. And of course, it was too OP to be introduced into multiplayer. And there is no solution once again, as a downscaled version of this unit would bear too much resemblance to the regular battlecruisers, and even with damaged HP changes it's just too powerful. Such a unit could evaporate your mineral line within seconds and it would be too hard to counter it. So at this point I bet you have already guessed why MotherShip is the only hero unit that was included. And the reason is simple, it's complete garbage.
Look how they massacred my boy.
You are only allowed a single mothership at one time. And each mothership costs a significant number of resources to bring to the field of battle. The mothership has several special abilities that can really make her worth the expense. First of these is the Time Bomb. This is a special ability that slows down all enemy movement inside the field. You can actually see the missiles slowing down as they try to strike the mothership and stopping just before they strike home. When the field goes off, the missiles fall harmlessly to the ground. This makes the mothership extremely potent against fixed base defenses like these missile turrets. In addition to her time bomb ability, the Mothership also has a special attack that she can employ against ground targets. This is the Planet Cracker. Ordinarily, this would expose your Mothership to significant enemy fire. But as you can see, these Marines simply don't have the firepower to punch through that thick Protoss shield.
Back in the alpha version it was a scary battleship, but now many pro players consider this unit as a waste of resources, and indeed Mothership isn't a powerful unit in direct combat. It can hardly beat a couple of Vikings or even a pack of Marines. But the beauty of a Mothership is in its abilities. It's a perfect example of a hero unit. It's important, but it's negligible and the game isn't revolving around it. Due to its cloak and vortex ability that was later removed, the Mothership could significantly improve the fighting capabilities of the Protoss army, while still being a weak unit by itself. And now you see the difference. All other heroic units are simply too good. Another problem with most heroic units, it's really hard to fit them into the game and not ruin the timings and balance of power. If it's too useless or weak, you won't build it, or you can build it when you have a big advantage and you don't really need it at that point already. And if it's too powerful, everybody would rush them and it would be a tactical no-brainer. So even though it's sad we never saw these cool units in multiplayer, it's probably justified. While they will seem really desirable, they would cause too much trouble in balance winding and probably wouldn't make the game more dynamic or interesting, even on a pro level. But I still kinda wish there was an opportunity to at least test them and see. Maybe it would be possible after all. So what's your opinion on the heroic units? Would you like to play with them or not? Leave your opinion in the comments and make sure to check these videos to learn more about deleted units from StarCraft 2. As usual, have a nice day and see you next time.